this point, I have the honor also to invite Carel, Director, Council on Health Research for Development. Carel, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Your Eminence, the Honorable Commissioner of Social Affairs of the African Union, Bience, Gawanas, the Chief Executive Officer of NEPAD, Planning and Coordination Authority, Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki, the representative of the Executive Director of UNAIDS, Dr. Desmond Jones, the representative of the Ambassador of the Netherlands, Dr. Maria Esveld, Mr. Olivier Prat, a representative of the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, who's also been instrumental in this meeting, and the Director of the WHO Public Health Innovation Initiative, Dr. Precious Matsoso. It is a great pleasure, it's also a great privilege to be here, to be back home, especially at the occasion of this meeting, focusing on pharmaceutical innovation in Africa. COHRED, the Council on Health Research for Development, has also been privileged to be able to team up with NEPAD, and through NEPAD with the African Union, with the World Health Organization's Directorate, WHO PHI, with the George Institute, to find practical ways to enable countries to take more informed decisions about how to operationalize Africa's Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan, the NPCA, and the World Health Organization's new global strategy and plan of action, and then a very long name, but in short called the GSPOA. We acknowledge the sustained support of both the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well as of the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation to make this particular meeting a reality. Because science, technology and innovation are indispensable for development, COHRED supports countries to strengthen their systems to obtain and use the information needed to improve health. In fact, normally our collaboration, if you pick up the book outside, directly links to the NEPAD or the Africa Health Strategy 2007-2015 around health management information and research. We specialize in technical support, research and development, knowledge sharing and advocacy, aimed at enabling countries to take charge of their own research and innovation agendas. We are an international non-profit organization that represents the Global South, as it is called. At the level of its board, its staff, its operations, but more importantly, at the level of its outlook on how to improve health and development. And Africa is a substantive stakeholder in COHRED, with 4 of our board members, including the chair of the board, and myself as CEO, coming from Africa. Our partnership with NEPAD had started 4 years ago and has further strengthened our link with Africa. And we are fortunate, for example, to have on our board Dr. Pascal Mukumbi, the High Representative of EDCTP and previous Prime Minister of Mozambique, who actually joined the COHRED board thanks to a nomination of NEPAD. So we go a long way back. We have 2 other big projects running. One deals with putting on the web an interactive platform for NEPAD's African Science, Technology and Innovation Indicator project. And a second one that focuses on capacity building in 3 or perhaps more African countries on national health research systems. And our partnership has been really productive, and this meeting is hopefully just the beginning of a sustained push for pharmaceutical innovation in Africa. I elaborated a little bit on COHRED and my own roots to Africa to allow me to make the following observation, not as a critique, but as a statement of an issue that needs to be addressed, and that essentially was the basis for this particular meeting. Africa now has its Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan, the PMPA, and the world, if you want, has its global strategy, the GSPOA, both of which are key policies and strategies that focus on getting drugs to where they are most needed. The question is, what next? In Africa, and also in South Africa, which is my home base, we are good at developing excellent strategies, but perhaps less good at moving from strategy to action. And that is exactly where this combination between NEPAD Health, NEPAD Science and Technology, and COHRED started operating to support the operationalization of the PMPA, and why we are teaming up with the PHI to support the operationalization of the global strategy. And the Noordwijk meeting, however, focused mostly on the role of we gave limited consideration to the issue of technology transfer and pharmaceutical innovation in Africa itself to provide long-term sustainable solutions. Reflecting on this, we found the Netherlands even more willing to support work towards a complementary medicines agenda, one that would focus on building African capacity for the same R&D and for pharmaceutical innovation. And that is really where this meeting starts. Over 2 years of hard work with NEPAD, the Georgia Institute, and more recently with WHO PHI, we've produced, if you want, a tool or an approach that will be discussed at this meeting. It is a practical approach that allows countries to examine where they are in terms of access to drugs and pharmaceutical innovation, where they want to go, and to decide on key steps how to get there. And often that is the missing gap between implementation and policy. And so that is where this whole area is focusing. And it is in this sense, if you want, a first real and practical way to help operationalize both the PMPA and the GSPOA. Now then, the study done that underlies this, you will hear much more about in the next session. But this study uncovered at least 120 different initiatives dealing with increasing access to drugs and the use of essential drugs. And this was not even meant to be an exhaustive study. Just imagine being a Minister of Health or Science and Technology, faced with 10, 20, perhaps even 50 of those initiatives, all operating in the same country. And although each is well intended, the collective of initiatives may severely test the capacity of countries and of national institutions to exercise appropriate governance and coordination, without which it is difficult to see how Africa can become independent of long-term outside assistance, as was mentioned by both of the previous speakers. For example, Gavi, one of the well-known vaccine providers in the world, provides at least 10 core vaccines to optimize child health and other health, all of which, or many of which, focus on Africa, but none of which are sourced out of Africa. In fact, to the best of our knowledge, in fact, there's only one institution on the continent that has a pre-qualification status for vaccine production with the WHO. So I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new here. I'm also sure that it is not new to you to hear that many in the pharmaceuticals field speak about African drug manufacturing as not realistic or not cost-effective, particularly when considering the short term. And even if this were to be true, it is unimaginable to me that the situation would still be true 50 years or 25 years or even 10 years from now. And so the question is, why not start today? And that really became the underlying philosophy for this particular study. So yes, Africa has a need for drugs and for producing them, even if it may not be cost-effective or realistic. These are not the only criteria for investment in pharmaceutical production. And in fact, the underlying basis of science, technology and innovation needed to become proficient in drug manufacturing is in itself a key component of development. Investment in drug R&D and manufacturing capability can be a very tangible, very focused way in which countries can improve their own R&D infrastructure. And so I'm anticipating a meeting that will provide a real push towards improving access to drugs and pharmaceutical innovation in Africa. Certainly between NEPAD and COHRED, it has been a great partnership so far, and I trust that we will take it even further from here.